I need to know how to fix Sony TV color problems.
If it just updated the firmware, do a hard power cycle.
That didn't fix it.
Resetting it to factory settings is an option if you've really messed up the picture settings.
I don't know if it is a setting issue.
You can reset a Sony TV to factory settings by holding down the arrow up button and pushing the power button on the TV. You'll see the reset notice on the TV, and it power cycles automatically.
Then I get to run through the setup all over again.
Sure, but you'd rather try it yourself than have someone say your efforts to get perfect contrast and image quality caused it to be unwatchable.
I haven't been messing with the settings, and this is a recent problem.
If the image is about as bad after you restore to defaults, then it is more likely a hardware or connector problem.
I have no idea how to determine which.
Switching HDMI sources lets you determine if it is a cable issue.
If I had a loose connection, I'd understand the wonky colors or dark screen. However, none of the cables are obviously damaged.
You could be using cables that aren't considered a fit with the Sony TV.
Not everything has to be a branded piece of hardware.
You could have problems using cables that aren't plugged in all the way or a loose port.
At least a loose port I could tighten to hold into place. It is all the other things that could go wrong that I'm worried about.
You could try plugging in a cable into a different HDMI port on the TV and signal source to see if it is a problem with a port. Maybe HDMI port 1 is damaged but HDMI port 2 is still working.
What would damage a port that badly?
Someone could have pulled out a different cable too hard or put a wet or greasy connector in.
And the TV is the last thing I want to try to clean.
If the T-Con board is bad, that will mess up the image, but I don't know how expensive that is to fix.
I've heard of that component but don't know which one in the TV that is.
Well, the main board or display panel could be the problem too.
If the LCD panel itself is the problem, I might as well get a new TV.
If you're getting solarization, it is more often the T-Con board, whereas color speckles that never go away or a dark splotch that grows with time is more often the display.
I think the T-Con board is part of the LCD panel. It is one of those squares in the TV.
If you have colored squares visible on the TV all the time, which is called an optical block, that's a panel failure.
At least I now have ideas of how to know if the repair guy is replacing the right parts.